Welcome back. It's Tim and Julie Harrison. This is your favorite daily real estate coaching and training podcast. I want to start out by thanking all of you for the great feedback that we've been getting from our shows over the last few weeks. And I have to tell you, Julie and I have intentionally been dialing up the energy and the enthusiasm on our podcast. Not that I really think we had much room to improve, frankly, because Julie, you guys know Julie at this point. She's too spazzy, right? Always like spouting off.
Uh-huh. I'm the one with the rants.
Exactly. But the moral of the story is that we know a lot of you are really coming off of what's not just been, say, more of a challenging 6 months, but more of a challenging 36 months. And you're wanting to know that how much longer is this market going to be like it's been? Well, we're here to tell you, and every bit of information that we are picking up is absolutely leading us to one conclusion, that our theory is proving true, that we are absolutely at the bottom of what's been one of the most challenging housing markets in history, and we are going to 100% see a return to a very vibrant, if not booming, housing market. And it's unlike the previous booms where we've had essentially the sellers being the greatest beneficiary. We're going to see an increase in inventory, a lowering of the rates, and we're going to actually see, I think, in most markets, a balanced market, especially because of all the new construction that's getting built. The previous I'll say housing boom, where the sellers were benefiting primarily, there wasn't enough new construction. But now we're going to see more resale, all the good things. We don't have to, that's not the topic of today's show. The moral of the story is that I really appreciate all the great feedback you guys have been getting on our past podcasts with regards to us helping you to focus on the fact that you are in the right place at the right time. Speaking of which, one of the programs Julie and I talk about the least on these podcasts is the program we actually want to sell the least of, and that's our elite coaching, because our elite coaching is primarily done by Julie and myself. And elite coaching is our highest level coaching program, and we are very selective on who we choose to have as elite coaching clients. And and we're selective in the sense that we want to have people that have the right mindset, people that have the right experience level. It's very difficult to find a newer agent that has all the raw materials to be an elite coaching client, but they exist as well. I mean, Julie's got a great gal now, and that was a former executive, very high-end attorney, and she's got all the mindset things are straight. She's very clear on what her mission is. She's very motivated, and she's somebody who's going to do exceptionally well, maybe even better than had she been in the business for 10 years. But a vast majority of our elite coaching clients are folks that have been in the business for a long period of time, and they kind of fall into different categories, but I'd say the biggest group that I'm seeing joining now have been trying and testing different ways of primarily lead generating and building their businesses. And maybe they've even been successful at it. Maybe they bought buyer leads, build a team or whatever, but they're now realizing that their real mission in real estate isn't what they thought it was, or maybe isn't the path that they were on. Now they're really focusing on building that worth. They don't, and I know why. It's because this housing market has taken the wind out of a lot of sails. And as a result of that, people are saying, if I ever have to go through something like this again, I want to make sure I've got enough assets. I want to make sure that, technically I'm rich, where my money's working for me. I no longer have to work for my money. I would say a vast majority of the new elite coaching clients that I've taken on fit that profile. And it's like an age range. I think one of them's 34, and I've got another one that I'm talking to that's like 63, but they're all after the same mission. They want to make it so that their realization is the real estate business. They have to choose between being rich and being famous, and they're choosing to be rich. And again, rich is a taboo word, I realize. So let me define it again for you for the third time. It's merely where your money's working for you. You no longer have to work for your money. So you can wake up one day, hopefully sooner than later, and have enough money coming in to cover all your personal overhead, all your hopes and your wants and your needs. And you are finally to the point where real estate is something that you can choose to do as much of or as little of, depending on really what your own personal goals are. You've moved from doing what you didn't have to do when you didn't, if you want ever increasing levels of success in your business and personal life, you have to do what you don't want to do when you don't want to do it at the highest level. Well, there is a jumping off point where you can start doing less of that, where you can start doing essentially what you want to do when you want to do it at whatever level you choose to do it at. And the folks that we're taking on as elite coaching clients, a lot of them want to get there as fast as possible. So it's not a lot of people that are ego-based. I think ego-based people don't listen to our podcast. So they're not wanting to build a big brand just for the sake of being famous. Because in life, guys, you have to choose between being rich and being famous. And again, most of our coaching clients, that are coming to us now at the elite level, they maybe have been, I think, seduced by the idea of being famous will then result in them having riches brought to them, but they're realizing it doesn't actually work like that, especially in real estate. So hopefully I'm giving you an overview, and a lot of you that's resonating with you because you're asking to be considered as an elite coaching client. So what we're going to do is we're going to be talking today about one of the things that's an element, it's a key element with our elite coaching clients. And it's what are we calling it, Julie? Our weekly success journal.
Yes.
Okay.
The weekly journal and progress tracker, it says what it does, but we want to expose you guys to one of the tools that we use to keep you on track. And I think also, Tim, when people think about one-on-one coaching, sometimes they can be intimidated by the accountability aspect. And they think that that's just going to be like really uncomfortable, or maybe they've never had a high level of accountability before. And so this is one of the tools that we use with all of our coaching clients week in and week out to help you hold yourself accountable so that it's easier and you see your progress. Does that make sense, Tom?
It does, but I want you to drill down on what you just said, because they should be intimidated by the higher level of accountability that comes with the elite coaching. And if it's intimidating to the point where they can't move forward, then they're not ready for elite coaching.
That's right.
That is
And
the
that's
bottom
okay.
line.
It's fine.
Right. And everyone says they want accountability until they actually get it. And so not everyone, like most people have this expectation when you hire someone at Julie and I's level that we're going to browbeat you, or we're going to, somehow get you to, do things that you wouldn't have otherwise been able to do because we're going to sprinkle fairy dust on you. And it doesn't really work that way. The way it works is we're going to co-create with you a specific plan that's only for you. That's going to be focused on wealth creation. It's going to be focused on your health. It's going to be focused on your religiosity. It's going to be focused on your family goals and all those types of things. But for most of our clients, we start out by focusing on the money stuff because it's really hard to get the other stuff, have focus on the other things in your life unless your money stuff is right. So once your money stuff is right and you have a foundation that's creating ever increasing levels of wealth for you, which we can create for you along, we're going to co-create with you. Then you don't it's okay. I'm going to go to the gym and I'm going to work out, but at the same time, you're worried about paying your cell phone bill. It doesn't really work out like that, right? Or I want to, have a closer relationship with my family, but at the same time, my family's not speaking with me because we're all now living in a cardboard box under a bridge because I wasn't able to make the house payment. I mean, I'm making you guys laugh, hopefully. But the reality of it is that it's really important that we all start out with the understanding that the primary job of Julie and I as your elite coach is to help you focus on making money consistently, because then what we can do is we can then put that money in the various places that we help you to, self-determine, S&P 500, paying off debt, stuff like that. And then you actually start becoming rich. And the promised land really is attainable by all of you as long as you keep your eyes on the prize, which is one day, sooner than later, being free from financial worry. And if you get into the essence of why you got into real estate, if you really cut through all of it, didn't want to have a boss. I wanted this, I wanted the other thing. It's because you wanted to be free of having to work for money. You wanted your money working for you. And maybe you're now just realizing that as I say it on today's show, and now you're thinking, well, you know what? Tim's right. I am right, because I've been in this coaching business for a long time. And I know ultimately what you're going to wish you would have worked towards, what you're going to hope and pray you would have, done more of, is focusing on the wealth creation. Because the older you get, the less the ego stuff matters. The ego stuff is seeing your name on a bunch bat or a billboard, or having people recognize you because you sold 3,000 houses, or standing up on stage and peacocking around, and all these people just thinking all that ego stuff is what makes you broke. Ego stuff would be worrying about your marketing and branding, makes you broke, right? So once you move past all of those things and you focus on what matters the most, which is your obtaining financial freedom, you start making different financial decisions. So again, that's what our elite coaching clients do. Now, one of the things, so we can start out every one of our coaching calls with our elite clients on the right foot, is I always start out by asking, and Julie asked a similar question, what's the best thing that happened in your business? That's our last call to make you money. Now, we start out by doing that because we want to set the stage that this is a business conversation. And then we also, and elite coaching clients that are listening and watching right now, this is going to be a new mandate that you fill out prior to every one of our coaching calls starting this week.
I've already started deploying it, so some of them are aware.
Okay. So, and we're not going to show you the form, but I will show you these notes that essentially encompass the elements of the form. But the form is essentially something they have to fill out prior to every coaching call, which does hold them accountable, but it is designed, and Julie and I, we've used forms like this forever. It's designed to have you self-regulate and also remind you on a constant, ongoing, nagging basis, thus holding you accountable, what your actual mission is, which is obviously to make net profit. So, Julie?
Yeah, it essentially makes you be extremely present about your business. Instead of, if we're being honest, what most agents do is, they'll have a busy month and they'll close a bunch of transactions. Woohoo, go me, I did great. And then because you were busy doing all of that, you didn't do some of the other things. And then you have kind of a light month. And sometimes that turns into a really dry month. And then you freak out. And then you get into your numbers. Then you're like, oh gosh, what happened? So what this is all about, and we're going to explain how and why this works for our elite coaching clients.
Julie, let me say this. This is
Sure.
worth saying too, okay? Your business, your real estate business is worth nothing. It is literally has no value. It's essentially a small service business. And if you wanted to put it for sale, you will not be able to sell it to anybody. Maybe you can have somebody take it over and pay you off the transactions that come from it based on a referral fee basis or something like that. There's some outliers, but for the most part, forget the fact that you'll ever be able to sell your real estate business and be glad about that, because the product from your business is happy clients, is essentially, closed transactions, all those types of things. But the true product for your business is profit. So what I want you to think about, I know this is 100% counter to what everyone else is telling you, but it's also the thing that's going to get you to financial freedom the fastest. Your real estate business, your product from your business is profit. Your business is supposed to be an ATM machine to pay for your lifestyle, to pay for your personal overhead, to pay off debt, but also to build wealth. There is no, essentially, there is no pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. The rainbow, the pot of gold, the idea that you're going to be able to one day retire off the sell of your business, it never happens. It doesn't happen to most businesses, by the way. 99% of the businesses out there are only, they're built to support a family's lifestyle, in essence. What I want you guys to consider is that what I just told you is the truth. And so if you want to have financial freedom, it's going to come from doing what you don't want to do when you don't want to do it at the highest level on a regular basis, being okay, if not excited by the fact that you're able to do what you don't want to do when you don't want to do it at the highest level, because you'll start to see the accumulation effect work for you, where the labors become easier, effortless even, because you arrive at a state of unconscious competence. And then you'll start seeing compounding effects in your life of your skill set, of your mindset, and of your wealth. And you're not going to get there if you're looking for shiny objects. You're not going to get there. So the game that we're playing, you got to choose which game you're playing. The game that we've played personally, the game that all of our top coaching clients have played is the game of becoming financially independent. You have to choose which game you're playing. Are you playing the brag, I've sold 1 million houses game? Are you playing the I want to build a big team so I can sit on my butt all day and game? Or are you playing the I want to build as much wealth as I can so one day I can be financially free game? Which game are you playing? We can help you with all three, but obviously the one that we're best at is the one that we did, which we hope you consider doing as well, so you can one day have the option of doing what you want to do when you want to do it at whatever level you choose to do it. You guys following me on all this, Julie?
And when you feel like doing it.
Yes, when you feel like doing it.
That's right. So for that reason, we've decided to share with you the #1 productivity tool that our elite coaching clients swear by. Now, we have been doing this, as Tim said, we've been doing this for a very long time. A lot of times this happens as the conversation at the top of the call, but most of them are doing this as a precursor to your next coaching call. And we're going to make sure 100% of you are in the next week. Okay, so featuring the weekly journal and progress tracker that does indeed drive the results that Tim was just talking to you about. So we're going to tell you 5 key reasons. There's a lot of reasons, but these are the top 5 reasons to make this tracker part of your weekly routine. And notice we could have made this a monthly tracker. We could have made it a quarterly tracker. A lot of you guys have little quarterly check-ins or have to do P&Ls for your accountant. But one of the things that I've noticed as a coach, and I think you'll agree with this, Tim, is when you track stuff weekly, very little can slip past you. You can't go, if you're having to write down, we're going to talk about some specifics. If you're having to track how many active listings you have, how many pendings you have, and how many deals you've closed weekly, not just monthly when you freak out and wonder what next month's going to be like. You look at it weekly, you're correcting course weekly. You're closing, what I've found, it's kind of, I would love to chart how this would look in some kind of graph. But when you do this right, the amount of time between deals shortens. If you're not doing this, you can stretch out. It could be 2 months before your next deal, but when you track it weekly, magically your deals get closer and closer. Your closings happen more frequently. Okay, so let's jump in.
Well, but Julie, I've actually pulled up the weekly success journal, the one that all of our personal elite clients will be needing. And so, for example, to start out when we have a coaching call, they're going to fill this out prior and they're going to answer all these questions. And I realize a lot of the information is going to roll over from one week to the next. But the point is this is a journal. So they're going to be saving in a paper journal what their weekly progress is so they can actually go back and document what they're doing. We used to have a digitized version of this, but the fact is that nobody used it. And there's something
Well,
about
it becomes out of sight, out of mind, which negates the whole point, doesn't it?
exactly. So for example, the first section of the business snapshot is the business snapshot where you're going to be reminding yourself what your magic number of listings is. And you guys are longtime listeners or coaching clients, you know what that means. You're going to be asked what your current active listings are, your listings that are in the coming soon status, your signed exclusive buyer contracts, and the pending transactions. So the reason that we're doing that is because we have notes as far as what you're supposed to be doing and what you're supposed to be essentially moving towards. And if we see, like, so for example, if you need 10 listings at all times, your magic number is 10 listings at all times to meet or exceed your financial goals, but you only have 7, we can actually show you projecting into the future what that's actually going to mean to your cash flow in 90 to 120 days. So that's the whole point. We need to prove to you based on your efforts and what your desired results are. So we need to show you as if you were a pilot, what all the gauges meant and why this instrument has to be in combination with this instrument means you're going to arrive safely.
Watch your dashboard.
Exactly. And so this essentially is another way of saying it, but more business minded than most of our clients, frankly, is this is basically your KPIs report, your key performance indicators. So then the next section is called your year-to-date production. And of course, we're going to want to know about gross commissions. Now, I want you to be really clear on this. Julie and I and all of our coaches, we focus on money. We don't focus on units. Because if you ever, for example, if you know you're in an abusive brokerage situation where the agents are all awarded for the number of units they sold and not the amount of net income they made, let alone the amount of gross revenue that they generated. Because in our industry, and it wasn't always like this, you used to celebrate the amount of revenue. Like when Julie and I were selling real estate and someone asked you what was your units, they asked you what your volume was, your dollar volume. And you'd say, well, I sold $20 million. I sold 30 million, 100 million, 300 million. Well, we take it to the next level. That's great. Oh, good. Go you. But you cut your damn commission on everyone, or you're doing them for flat fee. And so we want to know, and this is, again, a higher level of accountability. How much money did you actually earn? How much money have you earned so far this year? You're watching, listening. Do you know the number? Now, I want you to then know what your net was after expenses. Julie has after expenses, business expenses, but your biggest expense, we talk about this all the time, is your brokerage. Most cases, virtually all the new elite coaching clients I had, a lot of them were already with eXp Realty, which is a really smart business move, but quite a few of them weren't. And they were embarrassed to actually do the math with me where I was doing them, trying to figure out what they're actually netting. And a lot of them are going to be top producing agents. I'm on a 90 or 93% split. You're not, because you're not calculating or adding in or subtracting out, rather, all the other expenses that brokerage has slipped in that you've normalized. And what do they have you focus on? Neither the gross nor the net income. They want you focusing on the units. You guys are in an abusive brokerage situation unless the broker is focusing you on your net income. Why are you in business if it's not to make the most net income? A lot of you, without knowing it, especially those of you with big teams, are running a non-profit business, literally not making any profit, and you don't know it. And my gosh, I'm getting all these awards and all these platitudes every single year, and I'm on this list and the other list, and everyone says I'm the greatest thing since sliced bread. But when you do your profit and loss statement, let alone when you look at your tax return, or how about this, your bank balances, you're realizing that I'm running a nonprofit business. But it's this weird thing because you're getting all this attention, all this adulation, but
recognition.
and recognition, but at the same time, you have no net profit. You guys get it?
You can't invest with units. You invest with real profit.
You're playing a different game than what Julie and I want you to play. You're playing the recognition game. We want you to play the net profit game, because then with that net profit, you can invest that money, and that money, like your skill set, will compound, and then you will be rich where your money works for you. You no longer work for your money. It does not happen the other way around. If you're playing the recognition game, what you're going to do is you'll spend what would have been your net profit on doing things that will result in you making no profit, if not actually losing money. Next section, we're going to ask you about your prospecting activity or your proactive lead generation activity, which is what you should call that, Julie. Your proactive lead generation activity. We want to know about how many actual contacts you made. We want to know how many appointments you set. We want to know how many appointments you scheduled going into the future. We want to know how many listings that you signed this week. And we want to know how many, and write this one down too, Jules. We want to know how many exclusive buyer contracts you signed.
I'm also going to add price reductions, by the way.
Yeah, you should. Because in our coaching, here's the deal. You guys will be shown how to get exclusive buyer agency contracts signed. And if they haven't signed an exclusive buyer agency contract, maybe if they're a listing of yours, an exclusive listing, it's a different conversation. But for the most part, if they haven't signed an exclusive with you, you don't work with them as a buyer. You can maybe spend a little bit of time with them. But look, what we've created is our ethical real estate professional designation. And you guys should check that out. Elite coaching clients get that. And you have a pre-listing pack. You have a pre-listing pack that is done before you go on listing appointments. And you have a pre-appointment pack that's done before that you send to the buyers prior to the appointment. It sells you to them on why they should be working with you exclusively. And if they're not willing to make an exclusive agreement with you, you have to assume it's because they're planning on two-timing you or planning on buying new construction or frankly,
or not buying it all and they're just messing around.
Exactly, which is going to be the case so you will have fewer leads, and the lead to us is a pre-qualified buyer or seller who signed an exclusive. We have a very high bar, especially with our elite coaching clients, and you will have fewer of them, but all of them will result in a successful transaction. Whereas where you guys spend your time, because you're playing a different game, is building these big CRMs with millions and millions of people that you're dripping on. The next section is called coaching accountability. What was your homework that you completed since the last call? And then the next question is, are you on track, ahead, or behind for your goals? And the last questions are current focus. What are your biggest challenges? What am I doing now to solve them? So we want you to tell us what your challenge is, and then we want you to tell us what you're doing to solve them. And then there's a notes section. And this is a progressive, very simple one-page journal that's going to be what you're presented with prior to every single coaching call that you complete. That way, when we're actually on the elite coaching clients, we're focusing on what matters, because what matters are the numbers. What matters are the numbers. If you guys are believing that doing marketing and branding that you cannot absolutely definitively attach a numerical result with is a wise use of your mental energy, let alone your financial resources, you have been fooled. If you cannot elite coaching is not it's not cheap. It's very expensive. Julie and I, we charge a lot if you want to be an elite coaching client, and we're totally and completely worth it. You know how I know? Because if we're not, you fire us. We insist, and we say this on our first call, that there has to be a return on investment with what you're paying us, just like there has to be a return on investment with what you're paying everyone. That's how a business person thinks. Otherwise, you end up wasting all of your money and you have no profit to reinvest and to become financially free, which is what we want ultimately for you, because I already know with 100% certainty that the older, wiser version of you, not just the older version, because not all of you get wiser with age. Unfortunately, it's true. But the older, wiser version of you will be so thankful and grateful that the current version of you did what they didn't want to do, and they didn't want to do at the highest level, to the point where they actually had enough profit that they're able to buy the rental properties, build the EXP revenue share, buy the S&P 500, buy gold, do strategic investing. So the future version of you is no longer dependent on the next transaction. What are you thinking, Julie?
I'm thinking one of the things that this sorts out very quickly is the difference between being busy and being productive. or what you sometimes call work theater, because there's so many different things in real estate that can distract you that really do look, sometimes it looks to your spouse like you're working, but is it actually producing things like appointments, signed listings? And I have to say, one of the things that we are drilling down, you mentioned it, is a lot of you guys will start in coaching. We go through the numbers. You're like, I've got 20 buyers looking to buy. Okay, how many of them have you done a real buyer presentation with where they have actually committed to you? That's the number of real buyers you have. And even then, they don't have to buy. Okay. So it sorts out the difference between being busy, busy, busy all the time. A lot of you guys are busy. You fill your day with stuff that has to do with real estate. But is it leading to what the journal tracks, which is the actual real appointments that result in transactions? And then beyond that, what you started the call with is, all right, so you're transactional, you've got that figured out. Maybe you've got really good momentum with that, but are you tracking the money? What is your net profit? Some of you guys are pumping out lots of units and lots of volume, but you're not happy with what the results are. You feel like you should be further along in life as a result of that hard work. That's pretty common with some of our elite clients coming to us. Why don't I have more to show for it? Well, we probably can go through the numbers and show you exactly why. And maybe that's a broker upgrade. Maybe it's stop buying leads. Maybe you don't need 14 people on your team with 7 of them not actually being transactional. Maybe it's all of the above. That's why our coaching, our elite coaching, is very, very personalized. There is no one call that duplicates the next call with the next client on a daily or weekly basis. You guys are all very, very different. You're at different stages in your life, your careers, your family formation, retired, not retired. I have clients with little tiny kids. I've got clients where their kids are out of college, and so do you. So it's very, very personalized, but it sorts you out very quickly. And you said it, maybe that's a little uncomfortable accountability. Usually for the first 2 or 3 times they fill out the numbers, the first 2 or 3 weeks where they're like, oh gosh, you know what? My listings really aren't moving. I mean, I've had the same 5 listings for 3 weeks in a row. Excuse me. Maybe I should look at price reductions. Maybe I need to increase my pricing skill. I shouldn't have, I call those Groundhog Day reports, right? Where the numbers are the same, the leads that you're tracking are the exact same people. Maybe they're never going to transact with you, or maybe you're calling them leads, but they're all like 6 months in the future, maybe possibly if the sun's shining and the creek isn't rising or whatever the deal is, right? You have to be careful with what you're counting on in your future. And that's why we drill down on a weekly basis.
Well,
So
you guys,
Go ahead.
you can have some of your tea now. I'll
Sorry.
fill in the gaps. So some of you guys are wondering, or maybe realizing, especially if you've been in the business for a while, and maybe you've had some coaches and trainers in the past, why have Julie and I arrived at where we are professionally with our coaching? And the answer is we've earned it. We've done literally hundreds of thousands. Julie and I, not including our coaches, but Julie and I individually have done easily 100,000 paid coaching calls. And we've done that and we've been coaching full time for, I don't know, Julie, 2002.
Yeah, a long time.
Yeah. And so we've done well over 100. That's not presenting. That's not podcasts. That's not all the other things. That's literally us on a phone call, on a very high level coaching call. Now, they haven't all been high level coaching calls. When we got started, we were working with newer agents and Midland agents. But as our business progressed and a lot of our agents progressed in their careers, we ended up with what was the best of the best. And that's what we're attracting now as far as elite coaching. But why do we have the business approach? Why do we have the approach that we do to our coaching? And it's very simple, because we have had so many coaching calls that we can surmise very quickly what your strengths and your weaknesses are, what you're capable of based on your past performance. And we can cater our approach to what Julie was just saying, to what your strengths are. And frankly, if you've got some weaknesses, we just might not even focus on them at all. That's fine. Doesn't matter, because our mission for you is for you to create as much net income so you can reinvest that money so you can be rich to the point where your money's working for you. You no longer have to work for your money. I'm going to share this with you again. You wake up in the morning, you have to earn $15,000 or $20,000, adjust accordingly per month to cover all your business and family overhead. You're 35 years old. You're now saying, well, I'll accomplish that when I'm retired. Why? Why would you wait that long? Why don't you just do it in the next 24 months? I've had coaching clients that have done it that fast. And, I'll tell you what'll ruin it. If you start spending too much money on your business, if you frankly start paying your broker too much in brokerage split, or if you have lifestyle creep. But if your real vision if your real goal for yourself is to be financially free, where your money's working for you, you no longer have to work for your money, all your shit's paid off, your house is paid off, all your stuff is paid off, everything you do is cash. You can borrow a little bit, maybe on a rental property and things like that. But for the most part, you are truly to the point where the money is working for you. Your life changes. Nothing about your life. Okay, let me give you an example or a question, series of questions. Would you live in the same house? Would you vote for the same people? Would you listen to the same podcasts, watch the same TV shows, have the same friends, dress the same way, look the same? If you were rich, would you get up at the same time? Heck to the no on that one, right? Where would you travel differently? Would you drive the same car? If you were rich, where your money was working for you, you no longer had to work for your money. If you had enough money coming in every single month that it covered all your business and personal overhead, money was no longer a thing. That's one less thing you ever have to think about. I don't want you to stop working. I don't want you to just kick your feet up or become complacent, but then the money you're earning from selling real estate, let's say, is now going to other things like more wealth building. Like maybe you do want to upgrade your house, but you're going to pay cash. You guys get the point? You have to earn the right to be free. And the first thing you're going to have to do is realize, are you the activities that you're doing now, how you're allocating your time, the people that you're exposing yourself to, the media that you're listening to, the YouTube coaches that you're focusing on, all this other stuff. Are they moving you closer to being financially free or away from being financially free? Are they trying to tell you that you have to have these big complicated teams and systems and drip campaigns and complicated CRMs and 81, 10, 14, 27 touch systems and all this crap? Is that moving you farther away from being financially free or closer to being financially free? Are you being seduced into believing that for you to be free, you have to have a big staff? Are you being seduced into believing that to be free, you have to delegate everything? Is that what you believe? You're being lied to, because in your business right now, the way that the business is migrating towards is to the point where you can build smart teams using AI and technology. But what you can reposition yourself in the business hierarchy. So you're doing almost all the highest end touch stuff, which will result in you making the most amount of money in the least amount of time with the least amount of hassle. You need to learn how to do that, because what you're following most likely in your thinking, in your approach to the real estate business, is what essentially became popularized in the 1990s. Build a big team, delegate everything, buy all your leads. Branding, marketing. What's happened is the commissions have gone down. The brokerage splits have gone, essentially less. The brokers are paying out more, but if you have a team with a staff, you're paying out more to your buyer agents, and it's become normalized to pay buyer agent referral fees. Point is, the profit has been essentially eviscerated from the big team model. And yet that's what you're building towards. Have you ever asked yourself why? Actually, I had a coaching call last week. I didn't tell you about this, Julie.
Tell me.
You'll remember this. This was a long damn time ago. We were on a podcast. Actually, I was interviewing somebody. It was probably 15 years ago, maybe 12 years ago. And he was the, I don't remember all these Keller Williams terms are, but he was basically the boss of this particular brokerage that was still owned by Keller Williams Corporate. It was in Austin, Texas. Do you remember this one? And he had quit and he'd gone to EXP. So he had built this. It was an enormous office. Many of you guys will know what I'm talking about. I'm sure they're still around. Again, I wish I could remember more details of what I'm telling you. So Dominic, this is the story you told me. So Dominic's an elite client. So I appreciate you reminding me of this. And I appreciate the fact that you dusted off that old podcast to remind me of this as well. So this was a while ago. And he was telling me that he had learned a lot from that interview, because here he was listening to me talk to somebody whose life mission had become helping agents in his Keller Williams corporate owned office to build teams. He said the life cycle of agents at Keller Williams was to get them transactional, get them to add staff, get them to add buyer agents, wash, rinse, repeat. And the reason is because the hardest job to do in a brokerage is to recruit. That's the reason recruiting pays a lot, because it's the hardest thing to do. It just is true. Once you build momentum around it, it becomes less hard. But for the most part, the people that are inside traditional franchises or like Keller Williams, that's the worst job, is to try to recruit agents. And it's also the highest pressure and stress job. So if you can seduce your agents into believing that they're not truly successful until they have these big teams where they then start doing all the recruiting for you, well, I mean, obviously you're going to want to get them to do that. So he and I were on this podcast, and I was asking all these questions, and he said these agents would come into his office on the regular, and he would see their profit and losses because they're all using most of them were using the Keller Williams CRM, and he knew that none of them were making money. And yet, instead of focusing on how to make more money, they're talking about how do they manage the egos and the personalities and the human resources issues they're having with inside their own teams.
Of course, how to manage the team. Yeah.
How to build their team culture, how to make it so that, the team agents never want to leave, all these things. They weren't focusing on net profit. And I asked him how that made him feel. And he said, that's one of the reasons I quit, because it made me feel like crap, because I was getting paid to get agents to essentially do what was not in their best interest. And that tore me down on the inside. And you guys should listen to it because he was telling the truth. That's what the industry has become. And many of you coming to us, especially at Lead Coaching, you don't want to have to learn what I just said the hard way from your own experience. Those are the really smart ones. Learn from the mistakes of others opposed to learning from your own mistakes. Go you. But the rest of you, most of you, are the ones that have tried that. Maybe you've gotten beat up, mostly gotten beat up from having tried it. And now you want to get back to the core reason why you're in this business. Be of service to other people, to help other people. And as a result of the results that you get for other people, your work becomes famous. Your work becomes to the level where you have built a brand of being somebody that's trustworthy and professional. They send you referrals. You then learn how to proactively lead generate. You build a wildly successful and profitable small real estate practice. And you're able to, I'll give you guys another example. Chuck Williamson. He's someone who's part of our EXP Realty Group. Chuck is probably one of the most, I know he is an EXP, one of the most profitable, single agents. And I'm not going to tell you the exact amount of money he earns net per year. You can kind of surmise it if you look at the lists he gets, the awards he gets, but it's between $1 million and $2 million net profit to him, not his gross revenue, not his team revenue. Chuck pockets that. He's not alone. We have literally had thousands of coaching clients that are able to do something similar. You've never heard of them because they're not bragging. Rob Johnson in Greenwich, Connecticut. We brag for him. Rob Johnson in Greenwich, Connecticut, #1 agent in his brokerage. He came to Julie and I. He had a very clear mission. You've never heard of him. He doesn't brag. I've had him on the podcast a couple times. One of the sweetest, nicest people you'll ever meet in your life. One of the most professional real estate people you'll ever meet in your life. Does not want to go to events, does not want to brag about his success. He just wants to focus on what's important to him, being of service to other people, being a great father to his wonderful family and his kids, and being a great husband, being a great dog dad, all the rest of it. And he's a great role model for me because all of his kids are at Ivy League colleges now. I mean, Julie and I started coaching him when the kids were barely in high school. But the moral of the story is those guys are rich, legitimately rich, where they have enough money coming in passively at this point where they could choose not to work anymore. Chuck just bought a bitchin' lake house, bought a really nice boat.
But their lives are more simple. They're not more complicated.
And they're not borrowing.
Right.
They have achieved a level of financial independence that most people think is never possible. They are part of the 1%. So I had another elite coaching client who I got the sense had his head screwed up about being rich. And I asked him this question, and I said, what % of the folks that are first generation millionaires are self-made versus inherited it? He didn't really understand the question, so I framed it different ways, but hopefully you guys understand what I'm saying. And he came up with a number. I don't remember exactly what he said, but his thinking was that a vast majority of the people that are only single-digit millionaires were inheriting their money. He believed what society was telling him.
Commonly believed. Yeah.
Yeah. That's bullshit. It's a lie.
Yeah.
I don't remember the exact number, but
statistically, it's complete horsepucky.
Yeah. Like 96%,
that's a technical term.
96% of all first generation millionaires have done it themselves in their own lifetimes, have inherited nothing. And by the way, did it from owning real estate. They weren't even in the business necessarily. They did it from owning real estate.
And they did it in their lifetime.
In their lifetimes.
Yeah.
And most of the people worth more than 30 million per year made it from real estate, and then took the money that they're making from the real estate, or made from the real estate, and then started investing in private equity or dividend paying things like that. Exactly what we teach you guys to do in Premier Coaching, and certainly on the elite level. Yep. Why don't we just go with what's been proven? Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger, Julie and I we treat those guys as, with reverence. They've been our financial gurus since we were kids. And I think it was Charlie Munger who said, don't try to be famous. Don't try to be personally famous. In other words, don't worry about your brand. Make the result you get for other people, or in other words, your work product famous. So I know, like, I'm not trying to fool people into believing I'm famous or successful by doing all this social media marketing and all this type of stuff and worry about where I am on whatever list. The sold sign is what you're looking for as a seller. The results I get for other people result in, repeat and referral and centers of influence type business. It's the game you're playing. What is the game you're playing? Is the game you're playing adulation, ego, recognition? If you're younger, probably. Or is the game you're playing financial independence? Is the game you're playing, I've said it a million times now, hopefully you're becoming inoculated, all right, to whatever social stigma that you've maybe, irrationally and involuntarily absorbed about being rich, where your money works for you. You no longer have to work for your money. All I'm asking you to do is consider being free. That's all I'm asking you to do. And I'm only suggesting you can be free, especially in real estate, especially with where we are in this massive real estate cycle, faster than you can possibly imagine. Elite coaching isn't for all of you, no doubt. You probably can't afford it. That's all right. We've got lesser expensive programs, just being honest. And we're super picky, Julie and I, who we're going to talk to. It's true, because you're getting a little carve out in our minds, and we don't want very many clients. And you're going to get a little permanent spot in our brains where we're going to think about you. We're going to be thinking about you between calls. We're going to, stumble across maybe a personal challenge or a health challenge you're having. And we're going to use our personal resources to help you solve those problems. This is not a one size fits all. We're not following a pre-written coaching program. It's not like one of these fairy tale coaching programs. You can literally hear the coach turning the 3-ring binder in the background as they read a coaching script. That's not coaching, guys. That's garbage, and you know it. If you're ready for the top level coaching by people who've been there, done that, not just from a personal production side, but mostly from a proving their ability to coach others to a high level of personal production and wealth building side, Julie and I are pretty much the only game in town at this point. And I say that hoping that you don't interpret what I said as a prideful statement, because it's not. I'm trying to say it in such a way that you listen so that you don't make the mistake of essentially following a profit that leads to no profit.
Yes. Different spellings there, folks. Yeah. Well, and it is, honestly, it's funny that you mentioned occupying a space in our minds. That really is how it is. And it is a lot of work. It's our life's work. We have a lot of passion for it. You can tell that we kind of live vicariously through all of your victories.
Especially listing appointments.
Especially listing appointments. Of course, we expect you to take them. But it's also a lot of fun for us to nurture you to get to those next levels. It's very fulfilling for us to see how happy you guys are when you have those aha moments, when you have those, like, your best holidays ever. You have these amazing trips. I have coaching clients sending me pictures from being at the Paris Opera House this week. I mean, it's fantastic. And it's all within your reach. I really think that real estate is the biggest blessing. We talk about that all the time. We had a few podcasts ago where we were reminding them, you don't have to own your inventory. You can do it anywhere. You can get licensed anywhere. You can travel. You can, all of these huge blessings that you have. But our job as elite coaches is to make sure that you're actually taking advantage of those things and that you're doing it in a very present, very specific way that is intentional, and you stop feeling like the business is running you. You say, what game are you playing? Is the game playing you? For some of you, you feel like that all the time.
Well, but
it's
Julie,
getting back in control of your life.
You're right. It could be the biggest blessing, but also can be the biggest curse.
Yes, if you're not careful.
And frankly, we get a lot of coaching clients for us personally that have essentially living the downside of the path. And so they have a lot of debt.
For too long.
For too long. They have a lot of debt. They've been trying to, so like some of the business models you guys are following, or you've been seduced into following, you personally feel like you're a failure because the business model didn't work, or the team building, the brand building, the video marketing, all these things. And so you think there's something wrong with you. And I'm here to tell you, there's nothing wrong with you. There's something wrong with the business model you are following. And so you just need to now change the business model. You need to move to a different business model. You need to right size your thinking to get back in alignment with what where you're supposed to be in terms of earning your freedom. And we are going to help you get there. So Julie just told me the battery's about to die in her computer. So guys, listen, we would love the opportunity to interview you so you can interview us about being your potential elite coach. You can do that by texting me directly. We have no funneling system, no landing page. You're not going to be talking to AI.
Double opt-in QR codes. No.
Nothing. Here's what you're going to do. You're going to text me directly at 512-758-0206, 512-758-0206, and you're going to send me a lot of information on you. I want to know your name, rank, serial number. I want to know how long you've been in the business, what your family situation is, as much as you feel comfortable sharing with me. And then I'll follow up. I'll ask you some questions, and then we're going to have a call. And then we're going to interview each other. You're going to interview me. I'm going to interview you. You might be a better fit for Julie, in which you'll talk with Julie. We'll just see. And then if you determine, well, I'm not quite ready for Tim and Julie, I mean, that Julie's kind of a crazy person. Maybe I just don't want her in my head every week. Maybe that's you. Well, then we've got a lot of other fantastic coaches that you would also then interview and decide who will cost less money, who you then might decide are a better fit for you, maybe a better fit for your budget. And then when you are making more cash flow, you can have Julie and I as your personal client. But we are only looking for people that are already highly motivated, maybe not motivated, maybe highly motivated, but not with a clear sense of direction, who want to get to the promised land of being financially free, who are tired of living the curse of being financially dependent. Those are the folks that we're looking for. Mm-hmm. And if you think that's you, text me directly at 512-758-0206. So Julie, I hate to say that after almost an hour, we've used 0% of your notes from today. Sorry.
It's totally fine. They know where to get them.
Yeah. If you want the notes from today's podcast, just go to harrisrealestatedaily.com. In the meantime, you guys have a fantastic day. We'll talk with you on the show tomorrow.